Hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Rachel Elder. I am a therapist in Washington State that runs the Connected Couples Counseling Practice, which is maybe why you are watching today. And I'm just so glad that you are here and that you can join us. As we get started, you are welcome to turn your video on. You can keep it off. I would ask that you would mute yourself. If you have questions, please drop them into the chat. I will do my best to address them later on. But I like to be direct. I like to be short and sweet. I want to respect your time. So we're going to dive in. Let me share my screen. And let me do this. Well, we're going to do it this way, and then I'll go into present mode so we look a little bit more fancy. So today we're going to be diving into, actually, let me just do a minute. I want to make sure I can add people if they join. I think I should be able to. I'm gonna try to multitask. We'll see how this goes. Okay. Nothing like learning how to do this from the get-go. All right, so we're going to spend today diving into the power of regular check-ins. This is something that myself and most likely my team assigns as intentions, actions, homework, if you don't hate that word, or what I call rewire reps for the couples and the clients we work in. So we're going to talk about how this is a really great tool and resource, ritual and rhythm that you can do to implement this into your life. This is my cute little family. My daughter knows my husband and I go on date nights on Fridays, and she wanted to go on a date night and wanted to get dressed up. And so we did a fancy dinner date, and she and I got to match in our gold dresses, and she convinced Dad to put on a suit. So that's a little bit about me and my little family. So this is what we're going to do today. We are going to talk about our team real quick, just so you know who we are, what we do. We're going to talk about the benefits of check-ins, and then I'm all about tangible resources. So I'm going to give you examples of daily relationship check-ins, weekly relationship check-ins, quarterly and annual relationship check-ins. And then you'll hear a little bit about our next class next month that Dion and our group is going to be conducting and just ways to stay in touch. All right, let's go. Oops, I'm in the wrong button. Sorry, don't look at that. Okay, so this is our team. It is myself, as I mentioned. I am a couples therapist. I've been doing this work since 2020. I've been a therapist for over 7 years, but specializing in couples since then. I love doing the work of rewiring attachment in couples, of really helping them get out of their own way to stop sabotaging and really learn how to be a thriving couple and not just a couple that's stable. Then we've got Dion Miller. She is with our practice part-time. I have nicknamed, or kind of together, we've nicknamed her the team, or the life transition therapist. So she loves working with couples who are dating, newly married, newly engaged, new to parenthood, dealing with being in the sandwich generation, empty nesters, retirement, the life transition process. She's the queen of this work, and she loves supporting couples in this way. And then last week, it's crazy that it's only been a week because it's felt so much longer. But last week we got to welcome Megan Carvin to our team. She's going to be with us for the year of 2025, and she's our clinical intern. So she is in the place that Dion and I were a few years ago of really getting to take all the training and education required to become a therapist and finally get to be in the field with lots of supervision, lots of teaching and education. And so she is on our team, starting to learn what she loves about couples work. She specifically wanted a practice that specialized in relationship dynamics. And so love that she's in alignment with our vision of really wanting to shift the world with relationships, creating more health and more beautiful, wonderful, connected couples. So that's our team. We see couples in Washington State. So if you're out of the state, we're so welcome. You're welcome here. We're so glad we can help you and teach you something. And if you need help finding a therapist in your state, we always help to the best of our ability. And if you're in Washington State and you're looking for a couples therapist or an individual therapist or a family therapist, feel free to reach out to us later on. If what we're teaching, what we're talking, what we're doing is in alignment with what you're looking for, we're here to support you. Okay, so let's dive in. Let me just do a little quick. I'm gonna, I'm gonna exit out of this for a minute. Nope, I don't see anyone else here. So just making sure. Okay, so benefits of relationship check-ins. Um, when we work with couples, we always say like there's three categories that bring them in: communication issues, conflict dynamics, or connection challenges. Weekly relationship check-ins, daily, monthly, quarterly, annually, they are rooted in improving communication. And so that is the first kind of benefit of doing these. Your communication can grow because you are being intentional of coming together with your partner to talk through something, anything, a topic, a focus, a need, a want, a desire. We're going to give you some structure of how to do this, but it improves your communication. It's a space that you and your partner can both intentionally come to be open, to be vulnerable, to be authentic, and to talk about feelings, thoughts, concerns, areas that are going on in your life that need a shift. So it improves your communication. And in that, that strengthens your emotional connection with your partner. If we want to find intimacy or connection with our partner, or we want to reduce conflict, it all circles back to communication. I think it's the Gottmans who say this, but John and Julie Gottman, they're couples therapists and researchers, but they say how a conversation starts is going to indicate how the conversation goes. Check-ins are really about turning towards tuning into one another and seeing where you can connect and grow and change together. Those kind of conversations don't always go as smoothly in the beginning as we want, but they open up this door to reducing conflict, increasing emotional connection, safety, trust. It's a valuable opportunity to work on your relationship and create it in a ritual together. So you can see kind of just these bullet points. We're talking about the emotional connection, reducing conflict, and this relationship satisfaction increases when there's more intimacy, more connection, more communication, less conflict. Our relationship satisfaction increases together. It fosters growth, it rekindles intimacy, builds trust and accountability, and it ultimately can boost the long-term relationship health. And so these are just some of the reasons why you should listen to what we're encouraging you to do today is to find some kind of check-in with your partner, whether that be daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly, annually, whatever's going to float your boat. But we're going to talk through each of the ways that we would set this up with our couples, how we recommend couples do this and where they begin, and all the different ways that this can look. So let's dive into some of the tangibles. I keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. Okay, so weekly or daily. Oops, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Daily check-ins. When you're first starting with a relationship check-in, I think it's fair to say everyone on my team would say start with a daily. Weekly check-ins are great if that's really what's feasible, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but daily check-ins kind of get you going. So a daily check-in, there's three areas that I recommend. One, starting with like a starter question, like a high and low, or roses and thorns, or happies and crappies. That's another one of my couples call it that in their family, happies and crappies. But however you want to call it, have a conversation starter. How was your day is an okay one, but it gets a little generic. It's kind of overused, and we tend to have that response of like, it was fine, it was good, it was okay. It doesn't allow us for depth, and that's why I like the question of like, what was your high and low, or what was your rose for the day and your thorn, or what was your happy or crappy? Start the conversation there and tune in. Turn towards your partner and listen to what they're saying. You don't necessarily have to respond to it too much, but just like, I want to hear how your day was. I want to hear what's going on in your world. Let me turn towards you. Then I would recommend having some kind of open-ended question or a connection question. Take the high and low data and see if there's something you can go deeper in. So if your partner said, man, my low today was my work. It was just really stressful, really overwhelming. Your connection question could be as simple as, hey, I want to know more. What was stressful? What was really hard about it? Tell me more about your day. Can be as simple as that. It also can just be, gosh, there's so many like accounts on Instagram now with like questions you can ask your partner. I take screenshots all the time on my phone, and my husband's like, here we go again, more questions, but he's married to me, so he has to tolerate it. It could be a question of just like, I want to know one way that I could support you this week, or something that would be really fun that you want to make happen this week. It's an open-ended question that keeps the conversation going. You're continuing communicating with your partner. And then I would end it with a gratitude exchange, something you appreciate, admire, or want to affirm about your partner. The Gottmans talk about how for every one negative interaction we have, we need five positive interactions to replace it. And gratitude is such a good practice of this. When I tell you, I appreciate that you showed up today. I want to affirm how you are investing in your relationship and how important it is. I admire that you are here today and working on your relationship and being open to new data. Those all feel really positive. They feel really good. And we need these daily in our relationships because there was probably something stressful that happened that maybe made a negative interaction between you and your partner. Or I was guilty of this last night when my husband was like, "You just seem like you were in a bad mood all day." And it's like, yeah, I was really stressed. And it probably would have been helpful if I told you that, but I didn't. But that negative interaction for him was this energy exchange that wasn't intentional, but it impacted our dynamic together. So gratitude is super important. If you don't do relationship check-ins right now or you've fallen off course, I'm going to recommend you start with a daily one. What's the high and low? A connection question to keep the conversation going, and a gratitude exchange. You can do this in a text message. You can do it at the dinner table. You can do it before you go to bed at night. Whatever you do, find a way to do that daily check-in. And if you can't do it in this way, even a check-in text to your partner like, "Hey, I'm thinking of you. I love you. How's your day going?" is meaningful and impactful. It feels good. So I recommend starting with daily. But if your life is really busy, you and your partner's schedules are not in alignment where you can sit down and have dinner together or whatnot, weekly check-ins are a great start. So this little image on the left, the weekly relationship check-in, we created this back in what year? 2020. This was something that I felt really inspired to kind of create and map out. So we have a free download of this weekly relationship check-in guide on our website. So you're welcome to go grab it. If you want it after this, feel free to shoot our admin email, admin@connectedcouplescounseling.com. They can get you the link to get you the download. But it's just a really great 6 questions to do every week. A weekly relationship check-in works really well when you do kind of a reflection of the week and then you're kind of preparing and setting intentions for the next week. So you can see in our questions, our first two is what went well. We're celebrating the wins, what went smoothly, what we feel like was really good for our week, our relationship, our family, whatever category you want to include. And then the second question is what could have gone better. This is very intentionally phrased because if you say what didn't work in this past week, it has this kind of like hopeless, negative impact. And we want to take the things that could have gone better over the past week and work on improving them in the next week. So that phrasing of what could have gone better? Could you, Rachel, have communicated that you were stressed and you just needed some patience and kindness and understanding? Yes, I could have done that. And let me be better about working on that in this next week of pulling you into my world and letting you know what's going on so you're not trying to read me or wonder, did I do something to make you mad today? But what could have gone better? And then what's very common when people are doing relationship check-ins is they tend to lean on logistics. We don't want you to just lean on logistics, although the logistics of your life and what you need to function are important. So, number 3, you map out your upcoming week together. If you are parents, what's the kids' schedules, activities, appointments? What are yours, your jobs, things that maybe you're aware of, or maybe you should be aware of and you're not. And now you're talking directly to one another. Hey, this is happening. These are shifts from our rhythm and routine together. Here's something that's going on in my world that I want to loop you into because it might be making me feel stressed. But map out that upcoming week together. Then you go into question number 4, which is what is emotional support, or what kind of emotional support do you need? What does that look like? This question, oops, I keep hitting the arrow, my bad. This question tends to be one that people want to skip over. One, because they don't know the answer. 2, it's vulnerable, and they're like, I don't know about that. Do I really need emotional support from you? But it is really important. You are partnered with your partner because you are meant to lean on, depend on, be vulnerable, be open. you need emotional support. You need help co-regulating with your partner. And so asking this is really important. If you don't have a response, that's okay. But I would then encourage you over the next week to think about, where do you find yourself needing emotional support? Is it that you're stressed and you just need your partner to have that kindness and openness, or maybe like a little flag waving, like, hey, I'm in this with you. Don't take this out on me. Would that be emotional support? Are you coming up on the anniversary of a loss or grief and you just want to loop your partner in and say, hey, right now I'm doing okay, but I know this is the anniversary of so and so's death, or going through this really hard experience or trauma, tragedy together. I'm anticipating that some emotions could get stirred up or brought up or are in my body and are going to show up and be processed when they do. So I just want to loop you in to what's going on and what could come our way this week. This question is really, really important, so don't skip over it. Number five, what individual needs do you have for the week? Do you need time to read? Do you need time to work out? Do you need time to go have some dinner with some friends? What are your individual needs? And then finally, what are your relationship needs? If you're partnered, if you're paired up, you have individual needs and you have couple needs. What are those couple needs? Maybe you need a date night. Maybe you need to put the phones in the other room and actually watch the show together without scrolling at the same time. Maybe you need to go to bed early together and stop staying up late watching that show. Who knows? But what are the needs that you have going into the next week? This is our weekly relationship check-in. I always encourage people, when they look at this, or if I give it as a repetition, a homework, an intention for the couple, I just encourage people, make it your own. Are there questions on here that you want to add or maybe don't quite work for you, so you want to modify? Make it work for you. This is just a framework, it's a structure. It's not, if you do it this way, this is the only way. It's just one way of doing it. So make it work for you, make it your own, modify as needed. But I think these categories are really important. So just think about your world. What do you need to be checking in on every week? And how can you be focusing on growth and evolving and changing together? So that's our weekly one. The next version that people might want to do or sometimes do is a monthly or quarterly check-in. I like to think of these check-ins as kind of the, what did I call it earlier? The business meeting of the relationship. You may not be in business together, but your relationship can kind of function like a business at times. So this is kind of our business meeting. It is a reflection on the last month or the last quarter, and it's also preparing for the next month or the next quarter together. So you can do all of these types of check-ins. Like I said, daily is great to get started with. Weekly is really good if daily isn't feasible or you kind of get to a point that weekly feels better. Monthly and quarterly, I would kind of consider, like, I don't know if adjunct's the right word. They would be like an add-on. Maybe that's the right word. An add-on to the daily or the weekly. The monthly, I want you as a couple to take time to reflect on the month. What were the wins, or the quarter? What were the wins that you had? What were some of those intentions or goals that you set out to do? And did you achieve them, or did you have movement towards them, or did you forget about them and you didn't do anything with them? But you want to start with reflection. And ideally, what I would recommend is that you do it individually. Both of you as a partner are going to take time to reflect, and then you come together and you share your reflections. You practice that active listening, direct communication, but you share those together, and then you kind of go into the planning mode of the next month, which can be the weekly relationship check-in pulled into that monthly or quarterly format. What's coming up in the next month or the next quarter that we need to map out and talk about together? What are the individual needs we want to make sure we're supporting and honoring? What about the relationship needs? But you can start to plan the next month, the next quarter together. And you might also touch on like different topics and themes. So like finances tend to be a monthly check-in or a quarterly check-in in relationships. And so you might add some of those topic areas. So it could be finances, could be like scheduling for like school or work, traveling, I'm trying to think of what other categories other than finances are just like the most common one that come to mind. Um, I want to give you a bonus here. So something you can do in addition to just the setup or just a check-in monthly or quarterly, what you can do is if you're doing that monthly version is on day one, you can set an autonomous goal for yourself and your relationship. So an autonomous goal is something that I want to work on to be a better partner that I'm going to do, even if my partner doesn't do anything connected to it. So something that I'm not doing such a great job since it's January 16th, but it was an intention. An autonomous goal I had for myself at the beginning of the month is that I wanted to reduce my screen time. I wanted to wake up in the morning and not go straight to my phone, and I wanted to put it in a different room or kitchen when like the family's home together. And so my autonomous goal is that I'm going to work on reducing my phone being a distraction from my family and from my partner. And then what you can do on day 31 or day 28 or 29, depending on what month or 30, you can then say, how did I do working towards my goal? So this is kind of an individual focus, but it's focused on a relational dynamic or change you want to make. So that's just a bonus that you can add for yourself. If you have a little planner, you can set it there and then review it at the end of the month. But I highly recommend when we think about growing our relationships, having autonomous goals and actions is a really great place to do that well. All right, double check in time. We're doing good. Let's dive into then the annual. I would never recommend only doing an annual check-in. An annual check-in is wonderful, and I highly recommend that couples do it every year, but I would not recommend that it be the only type of relationship check-in you do. Annuals are about big picture planning. It is meant for you guys to reflect on the past year and make changes in the upcoming year, but to really set out in that big picture way. So, what are the big picture goals for family, the milestone needs? What about relationship, our communication goals, intimacy? What about career? What are my next steps or retirement planning, finances, the taxes, the budget? It's a big picture planning for your life, which I think is great to do yearly. And it can't be the only kind of check-in you're doing throughout the year. If anything, if you're going to do an annual, it requires that monthly or quarterly check-in. And some of the different categories probably require daily or weekly check-ins connected to it. So, what I love to do when I recommend annual check-ins for a couple, and if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you can see some couples sharing this, but make it a fun kind of relationship summit. You can even do a family summit where you guys get away for a weekend or y'all do like a lockdown in your home for a weekend. And you plan out the next year as a family or as a couple. It can be fun, it can be playful. It's all about reflecting, dreaming, and then making plans to take those dreams and goals into real life and activating them. So I would always recommend if you're going to do it, do like a date weekend if you can, or even make it a part of like a couple getaway and do this, or break it down into a few different weekends. Maybe one weekend you're focusing on like the family big picture goals, and the next is like your relationship, then career, finances, whatever categories you want to pull in. You can break it down into smaller sections too if you can't like block off some days and times to do it all at once. But review the whole year. What do you want more of, less of? What do you need to eliminate or delete? I was just talking through with a couple who implemented it, which I love when the couples do their homework. It's great. It's very validating and super helpful to see how it impacts them. But they were really leaning into the reflection about how there were things that they recognized got like added in throughout the year and just really deterred them from honoring the values or the big picture vision they set forth. And so they were using this annual check-in as a reset to really figure out like how do we boundary ourselves more so we don't do that, or how do we just eliminate that from our life because it created disconnection or stress or conflict. And I love that part of an annual check-in that you really get to be incredibly intentional of what is it that I want to bring to life. I want to highlight goals versus values here. It's so natural for us as humans to always set goals. So, like the goal of going on a family vacation, the goal of saving such and such amount for taxes or for retirement, the goal of weekly date nights. And goals are really great. They can be very motivating, but I always want you to be mindful of how are your goals connected to your values. Your values are the parts that at the end of your life, people remember the most. They don't remember how many date nights you went on or how much money was in your bank account. What they remember are the values and the characteristics you lived out. And so, anytime you are planning big picture or for a year, setting those goals are great, but making sure your values are the root of them and that you're moving towards honoring and activating your values more than the goal is way more important. And I think people look over that a lot. So, I'm just highlighting when you do your annual, probably should have put it on here, but like, what are the values that you want to honor and respect or bring to life in the next year? Values can be more of like financial security, and then you have the tangible actions that are going to support that. Maybe that's moving $100 every week to savings. But the value, what is financial security? How does it feel? How do you define it? What do you want it to look like? That is the work of the year. That is what you're trying to move towards and progress towards. And when it's just a goal, sometimes we'll tell ourselves, like, well, we failed. Like, we didn't move $100 every week. But the value, you might have succeeded. I prioritize financial security and financial mindedness. While I may have not done it every week, I did save $3,000, and that was better than the $0 I saved last year. So, rooting yourself in values over the goal is always going to be my recommendation. All right. And then, because we're couples therapists, on your annual scheduling, make sure you schedule date nights. Whether date night, date days, home night dates, schedule those times in for just the two of you to connect. Don't skip that part. Put it on the calendar because it'll give you that action of do we need a sitter? What do we need to make this a reality? And it's there, mapped out. Schedule your date nights. Date nights are powerful. They're not the answer to everything, but time for the two of you to connect, to play, to have fun is very powerful, just like these check-ins are really powerful. All right, I'm gonna just double check. I'm gonna stop my share for a minute just to see any questions so far. Put them in the chat, but we are doing so great on time. Like I said, I like to be short and sweet. We have some time if you have questions, and if you don't, I'm gonna share a little bit about next month's um, Lunch and Learn series. Where did my thing go now? I closed it. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. Um, my screen sharing is paused. What did I do? Nope. Oh my gosh, I messed ourselves up. Let me try this one more time. Oh, I closed it completely. Oh, give me just a minute with my little technology. I have no idea where I just put that. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Here we go. Let's try again. There we go. Okay, so sorry. This is just the world of technology. So we're gonna wrap up, but I wanna ask you and challenge you, what kind of check-in are you gonna start with? I told you what my recommendation would be, what I would guide you through if we were working together, but I just want to challenge you to pick one. Start to take action, start to set an intention, practice. Daily and weekly check-ins, they take repetition. They need practice for you to get better, for them to go smoother, to even reduce how long they take. Don't give up after one try. Don't even give up after three tries. Keep going. Um, they're really powerful. As much as we love working with our clients, if you don't have the ability to work with a therapist right now, or you don't have the time or the finances, try this. Take action, test this out, see how it helps. It's not the end all be all for everything, but taking action, trying new things, and being very intentional in a relationship is better than nothing. So please choose one to do. Next month, we are going to get to hear from Dion, who is our therapist in our practice. And I'll tell you what, she and I were in supervision, I think it was like a few months ago, and she said this phrase, sleep divorce. And I just looked at her and was like, what are you talking about? I have never heard this word before. What is this? And so I'm very excited because she had to educate me what sleep divorce was. But I'm very excited that she's going to dive into this, what it is, how it affects your marriage, and what you can do to reconnect restfully. It's going to be February 13th at 12 p.m. So little right before Valentine's Day. But she's going to walk us through that. She's going to teach us maybe why it happens, how it affects our marriage, and what we can do to help this sleep divorce not become our norm and maybe shift it and change it together. So I'm very excited that Dion's going to be presenting that. And then kind of some ways to stay connected. We have a monthly newsletter. If you've registered for today, you're going to probably naturally get that newsletter. But that's the best way to stay up to date with what's going in our practice. And then we always talk about our classes and workshops that we're offering. So one workshop that we have prepared for this year on July 18th and 19th, we are going to do the 7 Principles for Making Marriage workshop in Burien, Washington. So it's an in-person 2-day workshop because there's so much information and it's impossible to cram it into one day. And we want to get it to you all. So we have early bird registration right now until March 1st. It's $200 per couple. You register before March 1st, you save $50 and it's $150. So if you are looking for a reason to come to Seattle and it's beautiful summer, here it is. Or if you are local and you're looking for a way to keep the spark alive, to reinvest in your marriage, or to relearn skills and tools that you have and you know are good, but you want a refresher, we would love for you to consider the workshop. It'll be me, Dion, hopefully Megan can join us too. So it's going to be a wonderful 2-day training, and we would love to see you there. So thank you so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you next month if you can attend. If you're catching the replay, thanks for listening. Thanks for following up. Feel free to let us know if you have questions via email at admin@connectedcouplescounseling.com. If you are looking for therapy or need a therapist, reach out to our team. We are happy to find connections for you or schedule a consultation to see if one of us is a fit for what you're looking for. All right, we'll see you next month. Bye.